Humans are weird, let's work it out. Road trip. The arrival hub of the Proxima space station was buzzing with the usual amount of life and noise when Shift suddenly swam up to check in to the check-in counter. The chaotic color scheme that the humans preferred seemed appropriate to the interior of this section that they had contributed, if not particularly conductive to quiet thoughts, something that Shift subtly was rather in want of. He joined the waiting cluster at the terminal and absently exchanged greetings with the other returning undulates. He gave vent to a wriggle of amusement as the energetic antics of a small child traveling secured to one of her parents. She appeared to be attempting to describe a group of Shatar who were briskly striding over them. The cluster slowly rotated as each member passed the inspection and new members arrived. "How was your exploratory outing with your human friend?" the clerk asked as Shift suddenly regretfully abandoned his light touch on the little one and swam forward for his inspection. Shift suddenly wasn't quite sure how the clerk knew what he had been doing, but shrugged the question off. "Rather confusing," Shift subtly admitted. "I suspect I may have misinterpreted the purpose of the outing." "Please extend and rotate," the clerk gestured to him. "Interesting. Do go on." Shift suddenly knew that these clerks were trained professionals. Their interest and concern was considered a medical necessity to reintegrate undulates who had been isolated for long periods of time, or time back into a healthy culture. Therefore, their responses were always somewhat sterile, but this clerk seemed genuinely interested. It was pleasant. "The road trip," Shift suddenly explained. "Human friend Bryant explained it to me as an attempt to make himself more familiar with the geography and natural resources of the Shatar-controlled portion of Proxima Beta. He also said that they had the best roads of any planet he had been on since Earth." "That sounds," the clerk agreed. "Only the Shatar build their transport currents to anything approaching human specifications." "We rented a wheel and axle-based transport and spent the better part of the first 2 days modifying it for comfort," Shift suddenly went on. "I noted this seemed a waste of time, but human friend Bryant seemed unconcerned. Then we spent most of the third day securing foodstuffs for the human." "Was the local Shatar hive not able to offer much from their gardens?" the clerk asked. "Now alternate the rotation patterns for the scanner, that's it." "They were able to provide us with ample food," Shift suddenly went on. "Human friend Bryant seemed to want some very specific food types. They were not all Earth native, but they all seemed to share certain traits. These did make them ideal for storage without refrigeration, but I am afraid that it also made them less than optimally healthy for human friend Bryant. He would not even let me try some of them, and you know that our digestive systems are usually very compatible." The second father from the local garden was so distressed over what he saw of the foodstuffs that human friend Bryant actually decided to sneak out of the garden rather than explain the situation. "You were only gone for 5 days, observed the clerk. "One more rotation and we will be done with this scan set." "Then there is that," Shift suddenly admitted. "That was the most confusing part. Rather than choose one location to explore in depth, human friend Bryant just loaded us both into the transport and drove straight along the road until we ran out of time. He only stopped to relieve his physical needs and to get fresh water for my transport take. Not only that, I was observing his eyes the whole time. You know that you can figure out generally what they are observing if you do the math based on how their eyes are aligned. Well, his eyes never seemed to leave the road ahead of us. I doubt he observed the area in any detail at all." "Very odd," the clerk agreed. "You are clear. Welcome back to the space station. Remember that the gravity fluctuates between the general areas and the humans' training areas." Shiv suddenly gave the clerk a grateful pat as he swam away into the base. The whole trip had been odd. Enjoyable, what with the friendly conversation and the generally pleasant temperatures, but Shiv suddenly had to admit that he was no wiser about the ultimate purpose of a road trip than before he had gone on one. Humans are weird, let's work it out. Available on Indiegogo for the month of October 2022. Monty Python meets Star Trek in this third book of human absurdity. This book joins its two siblings in a trilogy of human madness. You can find the first two books, author-signed first editions, at Indiegogo with book 3, or you can go on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are available to get your copies of the first two books. Humans Are Weird, Let's Work It Out, Book 3 in the series, available on Indiegogo, October 2022.